Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So, do we get lots of candy for Halloween today or this weekend? No, we have more trick-or-treaters this year for COVID than we've ever had in years past. I don't understand it, but we had more kids. Okay, we got a few more minutes. Wait for some more people to get going here. So, did you guys have a productive Friday since you didn't have to go to class? Did you get all 5 of the replies in on your discussion board? Yeah. Are you awake, Zuli? All right. All right, so let's get the cameras turned on. Get ready for class. I'm going to start off. You guys have any questions, concerns? The midterm assignment is coming up on Wednesday. Questions? Anyone? Anyone?
Professor, I actually do have a quick question about the midterm.
Yes, Juan?
What's going to be the structure again? It's just going to be like a writing base. Like you're just going to ask a question or something or a statement, and then we're going to have to write about it.
Yes, it's going to be an essay.
Okay. Are you looking for like specific page amounts, or like are you mostly looking for like context, or like maybe what are you?
Yeah, you should be able to do what, 10, 15 pages in an hour, right? That shouldn't be a problem for you guys, right? No, there's no particular amount of pages. So just put down all the knowledge in your head and you should be able to get a good grade.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to go over more of that today. I'll actually even give you the questions that I'm going to ask. Well, one of them anyway.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
That is very appreciative. Thank you.
I'm going to show you I'm going to show you 3 questions and then I'm going to pick one. So you're going to have to study all 3. So don't thank me yet.
It's okay because at least that can be our study guide so we can further prepare.
Absolutely. That'll be your study guide. And it's not a midterm test, it's a midterm assignment because tests are just, I don't want to stress anybody out.
Essays are more stressful.
I know, isn't it? My son goes to University of Oregon and they don't give midterms or finals. So they can't use the word test. So I don't know. Bunch of liberal freaks up there in Oregon, I tell you. I'm actually from Oregon, so I can talk that way about them. Yeah, all my family's going, I don't know what's going on up in this state. They're all going crazy. Transfer from U of O? No way. Go Ducks. All right. Shall we get started? You guys ready? What do you got? 83 people out of 90? That's not too bad. We're only missing 7. I'm sure they'll trickle in eventually. All right. Where's Dennis? Are you here, Dennis? I didn't see you yet.
Yeah, I'm here, Professor.
All right. Perfect. All right. So let's start by sharing my screen. All right. So this week's agenda, quiz. Oh, you guys didn't have a quiz this morning. What's up with that? We're going to go over midterm. Chapter 6, case study. The midterm on Wednesday. No quiz today. You guys didn't have to turn anything in. All right, so the review, chapter 1. Remember the SWOT, the market to pursue, unique value, sustained advantage, competitive advantage. Strategic management means competitive advantage, all that good stuff. Okay, so know your case study, Walmart. Know what an internal analysis is, an external analysis. And remember, the strengths and weaknesses are internal, opportunities or threats are external. And this is the most basic of the ones I gave you. All right, so Nike was one of our case studies, correct? So remember what competitive rivalry, number of competitors. Who are the competitors to Nike? You guys can chime in now since you already did the report. Or you're going to be doing the report. So who's the competitors for Nike?
Adidas.
Adidas, yeah.
Adidas.
Under Armour.
Under Armour.
Puma.
Mm-hmm. So, and then there's a lot of smaller companies, right? Like local, regional ones.
Yeah, like Village Runner, like running stores or running shoe stores.
Correct. A friend of mine in Oregon has a clothing company that they do for workouts. So, but they only do it like for women, for aerobics. So, I mean, so that is a competitor to Nike, but not really on a global level, but it's on a local level. So all of that takes a little bit of bite out of it. Qualities, there's a lot of different qualities, right? Everything from guys making t-shirts to, Adidas making high quality products. All right, and then buying power, number of customers. So obviously Nike has the most customers out of everybody, right? Size in each of the orders, difference between competitors, price sensitivity, ability to substitute. So it's pretty easy to substitute a Nike t-shirt, right? You're going to go work out at the gym, you're going to throw on your Nike t-shirt, you're going to throw on a regular t-shirt or whatever. Okay, so that's very easily substitutable. But what you can't substitute is the global presence of Nike. So, Nike UK, Nike South America, Nike Africa, and you can't substitute the culture of Nike. There's no way of doing that. They are so big, so they're entrenched in how they do their marketing, their business, and everything. So Nike not so much is a company that makes sports apparel because they don't make anything themselves, but they are a marketing company. All right, threat of substitutes, we talked about that. Supplier power, number of suppliers. Obviously, Nike has the economies of scale on their side with the purchasing of raw materials. Not so much they do the purchasing of raw materials as the companies that they buy or they license out their manufacturing to. Uniqueness of the service, your ability to substitute, costs are changing. It's not going to cost you anything more or anything less to change the Nike brand to buying Nike sportswear or shoes. You might actually save money. So that is a switching cost that you might want to talk about. Threat of new entrants, entry. On a global scale, Adidas is still competing with Nike, but a lot of these smaller companies are not. They're competing in local markets. So not everybody can make enough products to supply Big Five sporting goods or what other sporting goods are left out there. Okay. All right, questions about Porter's 5 forces. You guys have all used it, know it, learned it, love it, right? All right. So chapter 2, we talked about Nokia, the general environment factors that affect profit potential of a business. So you would incorporate this into your answer into the midterm assignment. Whatever question I ask, how is the environment factors affecting that company? For example, Nokia, there's a bunch of different substitute products. There's a dozen different manufacturers of phones. Right now, Apple and Samsung have a majority share, probably 80–90% of the market. So you would talk about market factors, how much do they have of the market and what their products are doing and how they're distributed. Okay, so I can't stress enough how much you guys should know the value chain and how it relates to the companies that we've talked about, the administrative functions, the human resource functions. So make sure you know all of these, what these are support activities of the company, and then how the companies bring in raw materials, inbound logistics. For example, most of the companies that we have examined, like Walmart, Southwest Airlines, Nike, they don't necessarily bring in raw materials for manufacturing, but they do bring in a lot of things. Okay. So, for example, Walmart doesn't bring in sand to make glass for the jars to hold salsa, right? So they bring in the salsa itself. Okay, how they operate, manufacturing, packaging, in Walmart's case, how they distribute a lot of the products once they bring it into a central warehouse. Outbound logistics, how they get the products on the into the consumer's hands. For example, Walmart is not exactly like Amazon yet, where everybody buys everything online. Walmart still has brick and mortar stores, and that's their major way they do business. Okay, sales and marketing. Make sure you explain what the functions are behind that and the companies that we're going to talk about, and service after the sale. Okay, and all this adds up to value added less cost, and that's their profit margin. Okay, any questions about the value chain? You know it, you love it, you learned it. Rare and competitive advantage, capabilities. Okay, so is it valuable? If it is, yes. Is it rare? Yes. Is it immutable? Yes. Is it organized? And when we say organized, that means the company's in a situation to take advantage of all the resources that it has, right? Immutable, can you copy it? Is it easy to copy? We talked about Toyota, how all their SOPs, standard operating procedures that they put into place. Companies like GM, Ford have tried to copy many of their SOPs and were not able to. They've copied a few of them successfully, but doing everything that Toyota does is almost impossible for another company to copy. So no, they cannot copy it. Kentucky Fried Chicken, remember we talked about the 11 herbs and spices. Nobody's been able to really copy that. There's Raising Cane's, there's Chick-fil-A. There's different types of models of businesses that might be competitors, but they don't copy Kentucky Fried Chickens, and they're kind of set out on their own on how they do business. Okay, so the VRIO, remember how to incorporate that with the pastel. I'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, cost advantage, two different types of cost advantage, right? Cost advantage and differentiation advantage. So know the difference between the two and how you're going to apply it. The cost advantage, economies of scale, learning and experience effects. That was Toyota. Lower cost due to proprietary knowledge. That's in manufacturing. A lot of times what will happen is you'll learn how to manufacture something so well, so efficiently that nobody can keep up with you. Lower input costs and different business models. We talked about the different business models like Uber and Lyft, how they compete against the taxi cab drivers. Which reminds me, here, let's let lock in. And then let's take a poll. Because we have one of the propositions that's going to directly affect Uber and Lyft in the state of California. So are you guys going to vote? Are you planning to vote? Who's already voted? All right. Good job. All right. Polls ending. And what do we got? Just to wake you guys up. So 82% are going to vote, which is good. Which means probably the 18% either can't vote because they're not citizens or another reason, because I'm sure you guys are just not going to passively stand by and not vote. All right. So remember the cost advantage strategy, the economies of scale, and how these apply to your companies that we've studied for case studies. Okay. The other part of the cost advantage is differentiation. There are 4 primary ways that companies differentiate their products from competitors. Remember, we talked about superior products. Nike, they build a superior shoe, right? Supposedly. It's definitely more expensive than everybody else's, and they definitely have customers buying that product. So they make you believe it's at least a superior product, and you're willing to pay the extra $100 more than the other competitors. Better reliability. The major basketball players endorse Nike. They show that Nike is a better and more reliable product. I think was it last year they had a couple of basketball players blow out their Nike shoes, and that made news for a while. Convenience. You can find a Nike shoe on almost every store, right? And online, everywhere. Okay. And then the big brand image, the swoosh. Everybody knows what the Nike swoosh is, right? So, all right. So be able to relate the differentiation as it applies to Nike. The value chain. I think we talked about this enough. Yes, the whole thing. What, when, how, and where, and why. All right. Again, the value chain. Any questions about the value chain? If somebody's not sure about it, ask now or forever hold your peace, because it's going to be on the midterm. And if it isn't on the midterm, you should add it on the midterm in your analysis of the company. Okay, so we talked about Cobra beer a few times throughout the so far, how it applies to the VRIO. Is it valuable? Yes. Is it rare? Not so much, but it is actually brewed to go with food, so that makes it kind of a rare. Is it imitable? No, they can't copy the recipe. The recipes they've tried, but they can't. Are they organized to take advantage? I believe we talked about that when they merged with Coors, Molson Coors. Actually, Molson Coors put a big stake into them. They didn't merge with them. And then they were able to go globally and apply all of that. Okay. And we use the Pestel model to Cobra, political, economic, social, technological, environment, and legal. So be able to do that with the Cobra. Obviously, in the government, it's okay to open up a company in another country, but you have to abide by their laws and rules. So sometimes it means maybe giving a local official an extra donation to their campaign, or whatever you want to call it. It's usually a bribe. The tax policies in that country, for example, Subway bread. I believe we talked about this. Subway bread is not a tax. There is not eligible for a tax deduction in Ireland, because Ireland declared that the bread in Subway cannot be classified as bread because it had too much sugar in it. So, those are the different types of tax policies that you're going to find throughout the world. And Cobra Beer is going to have to learn how to operate within a lot of these different things, this Pestel, throughout different countries, since it's a global company. All right, so know the Pestel and how it applies to Cobra. Oh, we can't do that yet. All right, any questions so far? Yes, no, maybe? The chat, do we get the chats answered, Dennis? All right. Let's see. Poll number 2. Are you ready? Before we get into the rest of this good stuff. You can't vote. Yes, I know that. Okay, so the poll, the athletic. Oh, this is a closer poll.
A better poll would be if we should be refunded for all the services we don't get to use.
Yeah, I know, huh? I should get a, I'm putting in twice as much effort. I should get paid twice as much, right?
Theoretically,
Theoretically, I know. I'm a part-time lecturer. They don't pay me anything, I tell you. It's horrible. All right, so the poll is ended. Let's share the results, shall we? So just 55% think that the athletic department should be canceled and not have an athletic program. So most universities that do have athletic programs, a lot of their funding comes from that program. A lot of people who donate to the colleges do it because of the athletic program, but not all of their donation goes to the athletic program. They spread it amongst other departments. So sometimes that could kill a school if you do get rid of their athletic program, depending on how much money they bring in. Schools like USC, UCLA, U of O, the Pac-10 schools, they are, well, I guess they're Pac-12 now. They rely on their athletic budget quite a bit. All right. All right, so far questions about anything? We want to go over inbound logistics, Giovanna. So the inbound logistics, we're not importing any raw materials for any of the companies that we talked about. Nike, as you remember, they actually hire companies or create companies to do their manufacturing. So those companies actually bring in raw materials, leather, textiles, other types of stuff to make their products. And then they sell those products to Nike and Nike buys them. Okay, so Nike buys the finished goods and they distribute them, they market them, they do all that kind of good stuff. Walmart, they don't actually do a lot of raw materials. What they do is they buy the products already made from the manufacturers and put it on their shelves. Okay. Cobra Beer, they actually buy the raw materials. So Cobra Beer buys the hops, the barley, the rice. They procure the water or treat the water to make their beer. So each country they go into, they do buy raw materials for manufacturing of their beer. So you can talk about that. All right, Giovanna, did that answer your questions? Or is there something particular you need to know? All right, so it makes sense now. Does anybody else have questions about any of the processes that we talked about? Pastel, VRIO, Porter's Five Forces, SWOT. Okay, so chapters 1 through 5, you will need to know those for the midterm. Chapter 6, we will briefly go over on Friday. And then also the Nike, I think is also due on Friday. Yes, 11/6. So, but you should know Nike. We've talked about it. All right. So there's going to be 1 of 3 questions on your midterm. Okay, and there they are right there. Okay, so Southwest Airlines, Walmart are in 2 different industries and have 2 completely different mission statements. Walmart's mission statement is to save money, save people money so they can live better. Southwest Airlines believes they should become the world's most loved, most flown, and most profitable airline. Both companies are the low price leaders in their industry. Both take full advantage of competitive advantage, and both use cost advantage model to achieve strategic advantage. Explain how Walmart's and Southwest value chain is similar and how it differs to create a strategic advantage in their respective industries. So everybody's comfortable with writing a paper on comparing Walmart and Southwest value chain, what's common, what's different. You guys are good with that? Questions about that? No questions? We're going to move on to the next one. Are you sure? All right, question number 2, which may be your midterm assignment. Brew quality. Indian beers ensure the beer becomes a global brand. That's their mission statement. We discussed Cobra beer in class and the analysis of the external environment and the issues within the brewery industry using the Pastel and VRIO models. Explain how Cobra beer has used this model to create competitive advantage in the beer industry globally. All right, questions about that?
I have a question. So when we like analyze using Pastel and VRIO models, do you want us to explain like every single factor of that, or just like a few that we think is most like important?
I think you should do as much as you possibly can on every single aspect of it and in 1 hour's time.
Okay.
Okay.
On Cobra beer, I don't know all that much about Cobra in regards to what we discussed, like beyond what we discussed in that one class where we did a group assignment on it.
Yeah.
So I actually really struggled to answer the Pastel questions because we didn't go over a lot of things as it relates to Pastel.
Pastel is a little bit different. I don't even think it's in your book, right? No.
Not that we've gone over yet.
Pastel we've gone over a little bit, political, economical, but see, you guys got to critically think about these things. That's part of your, part of what you're going to do in this class. So you have a little extra time to go over that before the midterm, if that's going to actually be on the midterm. And the political, economical, social, technological, environmental, and legal factors is something that we're going to also discuss later on in this quarter. But yes, know the Pastel and the VRIO we talked about extensively. Okay.
Professor, I have a question.
Sure.
So for this question, for if we're doing the Pastel, would it be like more like broad and general since we're not given like a specific country to do it on?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So like what I just discussed about Cobra beer, how politically they may come into different roadblocks when they go into different countries. The example I gave with Subways, how their bread is not actually bread. The UK or Ireland doesn't see their bread as bread and won't allow it for a tax deduction. Okay, so the money that they make off of selling their sandwiches, they can't use bread as an expense because it doesn't qualify as bread. Okay. You guys have all had accounting class. You know how that expenses and works, right? All right. That answer your question, Maria?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor, I have a quick question. Are we allowed to use outside resources? And if so, are we supposed to do citations for them within the paper, or how exactly would you like us?
Well, since I can't literally monitor you and make sure that you don't use outside sources, I guess it's going to be okay for you to use outside sources. If you do use an outside source, I don't want a friggin' page of quotes. Just, say, according to so-and-so, they said that Cobra beer is having political difficulties in the UK because of this law. Okay. So if you write that, just tell me where your source is coming from. I don't want a big long reference page at the end of the thing, and I don't want you to spend a lot of time trying to get your references correct and all that other good stuff. So don't worry about those. Just tell me where you got it from. Okay. So according to Joe Schmo on, this website. Here's what he said about Cobra beer. All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Other questions? I mean, beer is something all college students know about, right? That's why I picked this. No. Omar's going, no, I'm trying to give up coffee and tea still.
Yeah, no, my mother and my oldest brother are alcoholics, and so I've stayed far away from it.
That's a good thing then. All right. So question number 3, if we're done with number 2, any other questions? To bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world, if you have a body, you're an athlete. Okay. So Nike is basically saying in their mission statement, everybody is their customer. They're here for every single person on this planet. All right, we discussed how Nike uses competitive advantage in their business to become the world's largest manufacturer of sports apparel, even though they are primarily a marketing company. I had to stick that in there because everybody thinks Nike makes everything that they do, but they don't. Using Porter's 5 forces and the cost advantage strategy, explain how Nike has become a dominant force in their industry. All right, so any questions about the Porter's 5 forces or the cost advantage strategy that Nike uses? Question? Anyone? Anyone?
Oh, I have a question.
Sure. What do you got?
I guess could you explain the Porter's 5 forces again? Because I get them mixed up with the value chain a lot.
The value chain. What's the value chain? Okay, this is the value chain. Inbound operation, outbound sales, marketing, servicing, support activities, primary activities. And this is the Porter's 5 forces. So what question do you have specifically that I can answer?
When describing the Porter's 5 forces, would competitive rivalry be like the last 5 force, or is it just the 4 forces that are describing competitive rivalry?
What does the companies do on the rivalry? What does Nike do as opposed to what Adidas does? Okay, so Adidas is Nike's closest competitor when it comes to a global aspect, right? So Nike has basically maybe 2, 3 competitors globally. So the number of competitors would be 4, maybe, let's say 3 or 4. Okay, the quality difference. Does Nike make a superior product than Under Armour, or do they make an inferior product? Do you buy a Nike t-shirt and it falls apart, or do you buy an Under Armour t-shirt and it falls apart? So what's the quality differences between the different companies and the products that they make? Other differences, how do they market their product? What do they do competitively to make their products stand apart? For example, Nike likes to get a lot of the professional athletes to endorse their product, right? So switching costs, it's not going to cost you any more to buy a different t-shirt than it is a Nike t-shirt. It might even cost you less. How would that affect Nike's being competitive? I see, Nike sells their clothing everywhere from Nordstrom's, Macy's to what are some of the discount places, the TJ Maxx, or places like that. Okay, customer loyalty. I don't buy Nike shoes anymore because I have wide feet, and Nike does not really make shoes for people with wide feet. So I stopped buying Nikes after my teen years, or early 20s. So what other customer type loyalty do these customers have to Nike? You might want to talk about that. Anything else about Porter's 5 forces? Okay, so the value chain, don't get these mixed up. I don't know how you can, but I guess you would learn them in a visual way because they look completely different. So not to get them confused. And this is why I put in these visual things for you. All right.
When we talk about the value chain, do we talk about more of the support activities or the primary activities?
It all depends on what company you're talking about. So for example, every company is going to have a primary activity, what their inbound logistics are going to be. So for example, Cobra Beer actually brings in raw materials as opposed to Nike that doesn't bring in raw materials. They bring in completed finished goods. Or Walmart that doesn't bring in raw materials. They don't make their products that they sell. They buy them. They're basically buying from the manufacturer. So your inbound logistics is going to be different depending on what the company you're talking about. Operation, outbound logistics, sales, and marketing, and servicing. I guess was it the Maytag washing machine dryers has actually made their servicing part of their advertisement, part of their motto. That their Maytag service people are bored out of their minds because their machines never break down. So they actually incorporate that into their marketing of their product. Support activities are usually going to be very consistent among different companies. Administrative, legal, accounting, financial management, that's all kind of similar in different, and especially in large corporations. Human resources management may be a little bit different. You see that Southwest Airlines kind of set themselves apart about how they hire, how they treat their human capital, how they treat their employees. Product technology and development, for example, Cobra Beer is kind of a low tech company. Brewing beer, it's not going to it's not going to be different than it was 1,000 years ago. The same process is there. Obviously, the equipment's a little bit updated. You have thermometers to regulate temperature a little bit easier like that. But it's not like Walmart where they're always changing technology, incorporating new technology into their distribution centers, into their stores. So that type of thing. So technology is going to be different depending on what company, but pretty much most companies in the same industry use the same type of technology. Procurement is going to be pretty much the same, whether you're buying raw materials or finished goods. Like Walmart buys finished goods, Cobra buys raw materials. All right.
So when we compare Walmart's and Southwest value chain, can we compare like some of Walmart's primary activities to Southwest's support activities?
Correct. Yeah, because one's a service industry. Well, they're both. Southwest is more as a service industry, as opposed to Walmart, which sells finished goods.
Professor, I actually had a question about Nike.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I mean, like you said that they don't actually make anything, but don't they have all these like sweatshops and stuff where they're like making shoes and t-shirts and everything?
Well, the way they get around that is you hire a company that makes all those things. So
they don't actually own any of the manufacturing. Like they just buy, like they say, hey, could you make this for us? And then they make it.
They go, hey, we know that you manufacture shoes. Here's $10 million. Can you manufacture our shoes in this particular way? And then ship them to us. And then we don't care what you do with child labor. We don't care if you break all the laws in your country. All we care about is you making our shoes and shipping them to us. Or shipping to a central distribution location in Europe, South America, Africa. So that's how a lot of countries get around all this stuff. You hear about, all these sweatshops and these child labor laws. Well, most countries don't have child labor laws. Most countries are not like the United States where we have laws for everything. Did that answer your question in a roundabout way?
Yeah, I just didn't know that they actually hired outside contractors to make their stuff. I thought they had like Nike production.
Well, that's one of the way that Nike has a cost advantage is because since they don't invest in manufacturing plants in foreign countries or even here in the United States, they can actually say, okay, well, you're charging us too much money now to make our product. We're going to go to Indonesia, or we're going to go to China, or we're going to go to India, and have some company manufacture our shoes there, or our shirts, or whatever product they're selling. So that's actually part of Nike's cost advantage strategy, is being able to do that. So they can just go with whoever charges them the least amount of money to make their products. Okay. Just like Walmart will, if you're a regular shopper at Walmart, you'll notice that they will have some of the same products on the shelf, for years and years and years, but they will rotate out different types of products, or different, one or two brands in a product aisle. And they do that because of the what it costs them to buy the product. So for example, pasta, they have their generic brand, they have Barilla, and they might have one or two other brands that are specialty brands, like all vegetable pasta, like a vegetable substitute or whatnot. And they'll keep rotating those out to different products or different companies because of the cost savings that they get with having those specialty items compete with each other on pricing. All right. Other questions? Concerns?
Yeah, can you go over the cost advantage strategy again?
The what strategy?
Cost advantage strategy?
The cost advantage, this one? Oh, no, different. Cost advantage strategy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want me to go over, Carlos?
Like what economies of scale is?
Okay, economies of scale is when you're so big and you have such buying power that you can keep your costs down. For example, General Motors in the 1970s and 80s was such a big company and had such a huge scale of economies that they could buy parts so cheap and make a car so inexpensively that they could have actually charged less than everybody else in the industry for a car. So General Motors could have charged $1,000 less than Ford for a basic truck, or or $5,000. So they could have actually sold things cheaper than anybody else, but they didn't, because one, if you leave money on the table, that's money you'll never get back in profit. So they didn't do that, one. And two, sometimes because you do have the economies of scale and the buying power. For example, Southwest Airlines has economies of scale because all they use is 737 airline, or the airplane. So their economies of scale are they're only going to buy 737 parts. So when they put an order in for Boeing for parts, they get the best pricing. Okay. So learning and experience effects for the 737 that Southwest uses, all they need to learn is one airplane. They don't need to learn half a dozen different airplanes like some of these other international companies like Delta or some of these other airline companies, because they fly different airplanes. Southwest only flies one airplane, so only need to learn one airplane. Lower cost due to proprietary knowledge. We talked about how Kentucky Fried Chicken has their recipe. That's their proprietary knowledge. Sometimes in manufacturing, it's a process of how they do something. Sometimes it's even a patent, like Xerox had on the copier for many years. Lower input cost. For example, Nike buys from companies that manufacture in third world countries, where the labor is 10 times cheaper than it is in most other industrialized countries. So lower input costs, the cost of the raw materials. Okay, and then a different business model. When we talked about Uber and Lyft, how they are a different business model than the taxi cab service. They're all in the same type of industry. They all offer the same type of product, but it's a completely different business model due to technology that they're using and due to the way that their businesses are set up. So Uber and Lyft don't actually hire employees. They hire part-time independent contractors to do their work for them. So the state of California is going to try and make that illegal. so that Uber and Lyft are actually going to have to hire all those people and pay payroll taxes to the state of California for each individual person that drives a Uber or Lyft. And that's the only reason the state of California even wants to do that, is so they can collect extra money from Uber and Lyft. All right. Did that answer your question about cost advantage strategies?
Yeah.
All right. Learn it, love it, live it.
What can we say about Nike when we talk about 2 and 3? Like, how can we relate that to Nike?
With the learning experiences, well, Nike's been outsourcing their manufacturing for years, so they learn who can do it at the lowest cost, and if they can't, they go somewhere else. Okay, so if you've been a vendor for Nike for many, many years, you will know how to do the lower cost due to proprietary knowledge. Okay, so Nike sells the licensing to put the little swoosh for companies to manufacture tennis shoes and put that little swoosh on something. Okay, a lot of these manufacturing companies are also making clothes for other companies. For example, the company that sews Levi's, or what was it, Calvin Klein, I forget, one of the jean companies. They were contracted to make jeans for a company, and they put their logo and they put their little tags on it, and they do that for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then in the meantime, after hours, they make the same exact jean, they put a different logo on it and sell it as a counterfeit. Okay. Any other questions about cost advantage? Right, so those are your 3 questions: Southwest and Walmart, Cobra Beer with Pastel, VRO, and Nike. Okay. I am going to pick one, and it'll be, and you guys will show up on Wednesday. The question will be available at 9 o'clock on iLearn. And then I will be here. I'll hold class like regular. So if you have any questions about anything, you can ask me. And obviously I can't monitor you at home, so you can use whatever resources you have to help you answer the question. So write it down in essay format like you've been doing. And other questions?
Single space or double space, or it doesn't matter?
I don't think it'll matter. I think whatever iLearn will set up on, you'll just have to do it that way. There is no double spaces in my class anyway. Come on, you know better.
For like iLearn, will we have to submit like a doc or a file, or we would just type straight on there?
I think you can just type it straight on there. If you want to do it on a file and submit it, I think you might be able to too. But just type away for an hour. I'll give you an hour and just type. For 50 minutes, I guess, not an hour. All right, so Wednesday we're going to meet for the tests. If you want to show up early, that's fine. If you have any questions, I'll be there a little bit early so you can ask them. And then Friday we're going to go over chapter 6, and then your Nike thing will be due Friday at midnight, 11:59. And what else we got going on? Veterans Day is the following week. No school on Wednesday. And so we're going to be doing, then I'm going to start posting a lot of stuff for your final project. So I'll be posting a lot of things on iLearn, articles about how to be a consultant, what good consultants do. And then I'll probably once a week, I'll go over one aspect of what I expect out of your final presentation. Okay. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. And if you need to talk to me about anything, email me and we can do a Zoom meeting. And then I will not be doing office hours for very long. I'll be here for about 15, 20 minutes. If you need to talk to me for office hours, then do that. If not, have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.